Good morning, good morning. Good morning. I'm going live with a word that God gave me to give to you all on this morning. As you can see, the title says, I am free from my past, which makes me available for my future. So that's what we'll be, that's kind of the topic that we'll be staying around today. Just coming live to give morning encouragement, weekly encouragement, as I usually do, and giving you guys what God gave me on this morning. Good morning, good morning. I'm trying to give a few more people time to come in. I just want to encourage you guys on this morning, and also come forth with the word that God gave me to give to you all on this morning. I want to start off by saying, you know, we have to be encouraged in every season that we go through. We have to allow God to speak to us while we're in our seasons, and we have to learn to stand still. We have to learn to allow God to guide us, and we have to realize that some things don't recall a reaction. Everything doesn't need a reaction. We got to learn that everything is not our battle. Everything is not for us to take into our own hands or our own matters. Some things that we say or we want God to work on, God can't work on if we're still trying to work on them ourselves. So therefore, we got to let things go, and we got to truly let things go, and we got to release those things and let those things be. Because if we don't, we'll continue to go back in and trying to fix things on ourselves to the point where we will have messed it up so much that, you know, it'll push us all the way back. It'll delay where God is trying to take us. It'll delay what God is trying to do in our lives. So we have to keep in our mind that no matter what I'm going through, no matter how something may try to touch me, no matter how something may try to attack me, in the midst of it all, Lord, I still say yes to you. Lord, I still say that I worship you. I still say that I praise you. So we got to begin to be forgiving people. We got to begin to let things go. We got to begin to trust God in the midst of the process, because it's in the midst of the process that God strengthens us, that God makes us stronger, that God is able to do what he needs to do in us. So you got to keep in that mind frame. If I say that I'm going to give it to God, and I say that I'm going to let this thing go, then I got to let this thing go, and I got to leave it in God's hands. Of course you're going to think about it. You're going to have worries. You may even have fear about it. But that's not how God wants us to be. God doesn't want us to fear anything. We should not have fear in anything but him. God doesn't allow us to endure a situation or go through a storm or go through a trial or go through a tribulation to scare us. It's to strengthen us. It's to show us how strong we are. It's to prepare us for where he's trying to take us. It's to prepare us for the next level that he's trying to set us on. So we have to keep in mind, friend, that everything that God allows to happen in my life is not sent to destroy me. It's not sent to disturb my peace, but it's only sent to make me stronger. It's only sent to make me and push me to be where God sees that I can be. God would never put more on you than you can bear. So if he allowed something to come your way, or if or a storm came your way, God knew that you can handle that. God knew that you can come out of that. God knew that you were strong enough. So therefore, That was your storm. That was your testimony. That's going to be your testimony to pull the next person out of what you're going through. That's going to be your testimony to tell people of God's greatness, of God's glory, and what God did for you in your life and how God brought you out. Because you never know who's going through the same thing that you're going through. You never know who's dealing with something similar. You never know who's dealing with something worse. But just of them hearing your story will encourage them and push them to come out of whatever they are going through. So that's why we have to keep in our mind frame that in the midst of it all, this storm is not for me. It is for the testimony. It's for God to get the glory. It's for God to show his hand. It's for God to show that he can do anything. So I want you to keep that in. I want you to keep that in mind. And another thing that I wanted to discuss, get on the topic of, was, as you can see, the title says, I am free from my past, which makes me available for my future. In other words, things of your past, don't allow your past to define your future. Don't allow your past to hold you back. Don't be stuck in the past about what you did or what you said last year or 2 or 3 years ago, or how somebody hurt you, or something that you had to endure or went through 2 or 3 years ago. Don't allow that to attack your future. Don't allow that to walk with you into where God is trying to take you. Leave it in the past, because it's in the past for a reason. And it's in the past for a reason because it made you stronger. It shows you that you can fight. It shows you the strength that you have. It shows you that you can get through some things. It shows you that God is walking by you. It shows you that God is holding your hand. It shows you that God has always been with you. It shows you. Things that we've experienced in our past have made us into the people that we are today. It has made us stronger beings. It has made us the women or men of God that we are today. It has put us in the places that we are today. So don't be ashamed of your past, and don't allow your past to define you, because everybody has a past. Everybody has a past. Nobody was always saved. Nobody was always filled with the Holy Ghost. Nobody was always walking with the Lord. It's a process, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen. Sometimes it can take years. Sometimes it can take months. But we got to trust the process. We cannot allow our past to define our future. We can't do it. Because not only are you allowing your past, not only are you living in the past, you are not being able to be set free from the past. And if you can't be set free from the past, then you cannot walk into the future. You cannot take full advantage of what God has for you. You can't grab a hold of everything because you're holding on to that hurt. You're holding on to that pain. You're holding on to those tears. You're holding on to it. We have to learn to trust the process, even when the process hurts, even when the process is uncomfortable, even when the process don't feel good, even when the process brings tears to our eyes. We got to trust that process, because we got to know that it's something in that process that God is trying to teach us, that God is trying to show us. So we got to begin to open up our spiritual eyes and open up our spiritual ears, and we got to begin to listen, because it starts with the spiritual realm. It starts with your mind. You got to trust God. I don't care what it looks like. Trust God. And like every time I come on here, I say this because I speak from my own experience. I speak from my own situations. I speak from my own life, things that I've experienced, things that I've been through, things that I've dealt with, things that I'm still dealing with. It's a process. I'm still learning. I'm still grabbing a hold of things. God is still teaching me. God is still molding me. Grab a hold of your process and allow your process to set you free. You can't allow things of your past to hold you back anymore. We're in a season where we got to forgive, and we got to let that stuff go, and we got to begin to move on, because we're not hindering anybody but ourselves. And then you wonder why your enemies are out here looking like they are just going on about their life. They're successful. They're this, they're that. Because you are the only one hindering. You are the only one losing sleep at night. Let that stuff go and let that stuff be. Learn how to forgive and move on. And you don't have to leave You don't have to leave causing a fight, causing confusion. You don't have to make something try to be something that it's not. You can leave in peace. That's okay. You don't have to leave all in a row. You don't have to leave all in a big misunderstanding or confusion. Leave in peace. We have to learn to love people from a distance. We have to learn to deal with people for a distance. We have to know we have to know what each person that comes across, that we come across. We got to know what type of place that person plays in our life. We got to know that this person is only here to help me with business. This person is not here to be a friend, but only to help me with business. This person is only here to encourage me in my spiritual life, but this person is not good for me to connect them with my business. This person is not good for this. You know, you have to know where people stand in your life, and you got to know when it's time to let people go. Some people come in your life for a season to get you where God is trying to take you, and then God will remove them. But you're still trying to hold on to them. So with you trying to hold on to them, you're not being able to get all the way to where God is trying to take you, because God has already released you, and that person has already come and done what they were supposed to do, but you are still holding on to it, and you don't want to let it go. You got to let some things go, and you got to let some people go sometimes where God is trying to take us, where God is trying to do in your life. And you got to realize, I'm going to lose people. You got to realize people are not going to like you. You got to realize people are going to change towards you. People are going to say that you change. But it's okay to change for God. It's okay to serve God. It's okay to follow God. It's okay. Don't be ashamed of God. Don't be ashamed of the place that God has you in. Don't be ashamed of where God is taking you. People are not going to like your story. People are not going to see your vision, because it's your vision. God gave you that vision. So that vision is for you. People will not see what you see. People will not understand what you understand. So you got to keep that in mind. God gave me this, and God showed it to me this way. They don't see it right now, but in the end, God will get the glory. They will see it. They will understand it. That's why you have to push and you have to fight no matter what, how things are looking around you, no matter how things are going on around you. You have to be encouraged, and you have to know that God is bigger than any situation. You have to know that God can show up at any time. God can change that whole atmosphere. God can change minds. God can change hearts. So you got to keep that in mind, that I am free from my past, so I am now available for my future. That makes you available for your future. When you let go of your past, God can do more things. God can remove and replace, but we got to allow him to. You got to allow God to do it in your life, because if you don't do it, if you don't allow him, you will mess up every time. Every time we will mess it up. Because we can't see in the future. God can see ahead. We only can see what's right now. And when you're going through storms, and when you're in the middle of trials, when you're in the middle of tribulation, you gotta realize it's only temporary. It's only temporary. This season won't last forever. The sun's gotta shine, joy's gotta come, peace gotta come. So I got to grab a hold to what I got to grab a hold in this season. While I'm in this storm, I got to grab a hold to what I need to grab a hold to in this storm. And I got to go on about my life. I got to keep going, and I got to keep moving on. I got to keep pushing, and I got to keep fighting. Because the tests are not going to stop. The storms are not going to stop coming. He never said that we wouldn't go through. He never said that we wouldn't encounter things, but he said he will walk through those things with us. He said that those things wouldn't touch us. Those things wouldn't destroy us. But he will walk through. God has never left us nor forsaked us. So we got to keep in mind that, God, I know you hear. God, I know you see this. God, I know you hear this. God, I know you got my back. God, I know that you're going to show up any minute. I know that you're going to show up at any time. And you got to realize that when you have a purpose and when you have favor over your life, favor is not fair. Favor is not fair at all. A lot of people will dislike you. A lot of people will feel some type of way. A lot of people will begin to separate themselves from you. A lot of people will begin to fall back from you. But that's okay, because God did it. God did it. Don't be ashamed of the favor that you have over your life. Don't be ashamed of this or this or that. Don't be ashamed of it. Allow God's hands to work. Allow God's will to be done. Don't fight against God's will. Allow it to be done. And you know, God gave me, I was reading in my Bible, and I was kind of doing some Google search to help, you know, kind of understand some of the stuff that I was reading. And I was also in my study Bible, and you know, God gave me, he told me to go look up the stages of a butterfly. So I began to go look up the stages of a butterfly. I began to go and do my research, and they began to say that a butterfly goes through 4 stages. So I began to go and see, like, what are the 4 stages. I began to see what goes on in each stage of a butterfly development. What does a butterfly go through? What does a butterfly do? What's the purpose of this? I began to go like, Lord, what you trying to tell me? Lord, what's a butterfly got to do with this studying that I'm doing? What's the butterfly got to do with what you telling me? So I began to go and I began to take notes on stuff. I don't have all my notes, but I just got the basics. I began to just write and take notes. I began to go on Google. I began to study. I began to look things up. And the 4 stages that it says that the butterfly goes out with, it goes through the egg stage where it's in the egg. Then it goes through the caterpillar stage. Then it goes through the pupa stage. Then it goes through the adult butterfly stage. So it goes through 4 stages, and then God begins to say the number 4. So I was like, what are you trying to tell me, God? So I began to go and look. I began to do some research, and when I began to look, it says the number 4 is associated with self-expression, self-fulfillment. The number 4 is also a representation of maturity and a stable mind. So at that point, I began to read. I began to put things together. I began to look and read over some other things. So when we are in the egg stage, we are in a shell. God has us in a shell to where he's preparing us. He's molding us in this shell. He's preparing us for when we get ready to hatch. He's embedding things in us. He's putting the things on the inside of us that he needs us. He's giving us strength. He's giving us faith. He's giving us the boldness. He's giving us the courage that we need while we're inside this shell. He's preparing us, and he's molding us for what we're about to experience or whatever we may run into. So as we are in the first stage of the butterfly development, which is the egg stage, we are closed in. We are shelled in. Because we are going through a process of where we are getting ready to hatch, where we are getting ready to come out of that stage, where we are getting ready to start that process or that purpose that God has for us, that journey, that plan, that vision that God has for us. So as we are in that shell stage, we got to learn to be okay with being in that stage. We got to take what we can take while we're in that stage. We got to retain what we need to retain while God has us in that stage. While God has us in that season of resting, in that season of standing still, in that season of trying to understand, in that season of increasing our faith. We gotta embrace that shell stage. We got to be ready for when God break us loose out of this shell stage. And then it begins to say, as the shell begins to hatches, it goes to a caterpillar stage. And in this caterpillar stage, it's a development of what came out the shell. It's the first process. It's the second process of what was going on in that shell. It's the process of new life. It's the process of a new walk. It's the process of a new journey. It's the new process. It's the process of God has repositioned you. It's the process of God has prepared you for this. God has got you ready. You know the assignment. So in this stage right here, God is making you stronger in this stage. He's preparing you for the next stage. He's getting you ready in this stage. This stage right here, it's not all the way comfortable. It's not all the way where you're supposed to be at. It's not all the way where you will be at. But it's the next stage. It's the next level. And then you begin to go into then after that you begin to go into the pepper stage. You begin to go into that stage. So in that stage, you begin to go out. You are on a limb. You're hanging from the limb, so you got to trust your process while you're hanging from that limb, because then you begin to close in into a nest. You begin to be wrapped and surrounded. So in this, and when you get to this stage, God is preparing you. God is making you stronger. God is making you're almost there, because you're about to get ready to blossom. You're about to get ready to stand on where God has prepared you in that season. You're about to get ready to come forth and where God has for you. You're about to get ready to walk out of that thing, and you're about to understand, and you're about to be able to take those things that come at you. In this stage, you're almost there, but you're not there yet, but you're almost there. So you got to grab some hold of every stage that God is taking you through. It's a process. We got to go through these processes. We got to go through the shell, and then we got to go through the uncomfortable stage. We got to go through the ugliness. We got to go through the tears. We got to go through the crying. We got to go through the upset. We got to go through it. But in the process, trust the process. Trust your process. And then we come down to the adult butterfly stage, where we begin to blossom and gain our wings, where we begin to fly and soar, where we begin to move and go where God is trying to take us, where we begin to flow, where we begin to understand, where we begin to see things for what they are. It's a beautiful stage. We had to go through the ugly stage. We had to go to the disappointment stage to get to the blossom stage. We had to go through this stage. We had to earn our wings. So that's just like in the spiritual. We got to earn our oil. You got to earn that oil. So when you see a person being blessed, when you see a person running around, when you see a person screaming and shouting, you might not even understand why that person running around the church like that, why that person running around this place like that, why that person screaming like that, because you don't know their story. You don't know their process. You don't know what they went through. You don't know what God had to do. You don't know that. You don't know. Never judge a book by its cover, because what you see now is their blossoms. You see their beauty. You see their glow now. You see the aftermath of going through the storm. You see the aftermath of earning their oil. You see the aftermath of them crying. You see the aftermath of them not sleeping at night. You see the aftermath of them not understanding. You see the aftermath of everything that they had to endure and everything that they had to go through. You see the aftermath of it. So be happy for your sister. Be happy for your brother. Be happy for them, because you don't know what they had to go through to get in that very moment that they are. You don't know. You may be praying for the same thing, and you may say, Lord, they don't even walk with you. Lord, they don't even pray. Lord, they don't even have a relationship with you. But I have a relationship with you. Lord, I'm there. Lord, I talk to you. Lord, I read my word. But you don't know why God had to go ahead and take them through that process. You don't know what they were about to do. You don't know what they were about to step into. You don't know what they was about to walk into. You don't know why God saw fit that he needs to go and move for them first. God may feel like you're strong enough. You got the strength. You can hold on. I got you. I'm coming. But I need to go answer my other daughter. I need to go and save my other son right now. But I'll be back, daughter. I'm still here. So never look at somebody else's situation or what somebody else got going or what somebody else going through. Never look at it and look at your situation and try to compare it, because God created each and every one of us different, with a different purpose, with a different walk. So you got to understand that, and once you begin to understand that, and once you see where God is trying to take you, it'll come a little easier. It'll come a little lighter. But you got to see these things. You got to see it with your spiritual eyes. You got to see it in the spiritual realm, because you got to see it in the spiritual realm first before you see it in the natural realm. It starts in the spiritual realm. You got to trust God with everything in you. I don't care if your bill's not, I don't care if you got a note on your door saying your power finna be turned off in 24 hours. If you don't come up with that payment, you better trust God with everything in. You better fall to your knees. You better begin to pray like never before. Because guess what? Know that it's already done. God is always going to make a way. God is not going to leave his people out here hanging. God is not going to leave us. He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So that means God is always there. We are the ones that turn our back on God. We are the ones that give up and let go. We are the ones that lose courage. We are the ones that don't believe anymore. We are the ones that lose faith. But God never loses faith in us. God knows He created each and every one of us in the image of Him, fearfully and wonderfully made. And you got to keep that in your mind. God created me in the image of Him. Me, little old me, sinner old me. God created me in the image of Him. So if God created me in the image of Him, God has embedded some of Him in me too. I tell people all the time, you got to learn to walk with that authority that God gave you. You better talk with that authority that God gave you. You better use that purpose that God given you. Don't sit back on your gifts. Don't sit back on your anointing. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. Because I was there at one point in time. I used to hold back on where God was calling me. I used to run from where God was calling me and telling me that I need to be because of what people may say, because of my past, because of how I used to be. But you cannot, and God gave me, and I tell them on the prayer line all the time, God gave this to me maybe 2 weeks ago. You are now free from your past so that you are available for your future. You being free from your past now makes you available for your future. Let go of the past. Let go of that hurt. Let go of that pain. Let go of what you went through. Use that hurt and that pain to grow, to get stronger, to take you where you need to be. And keep in mind that the people that you started out with are not going to always be the people at the end of the finish line with you. God is going to bring people in for a season, and God is going to remove people. God is going to replace. But it's okay. It may hurt. You may cry. You may feel some type of way, but you got to trust God, because God removed and replaced for a reason. And you got to know that this walk with the Lord, this journey, this walk, it's not going to be easy. It's not an easy walk. But I would rather walk and fight on the Lord's side than walk and fight of the world, because at least I know I got some type of protection. I got some type of insurance when I'm walking with the Lord. I know that God can show up anytime. I know that God can change my situation. I know that God is fighting that battle for me. I know that I don't have to fight that battle. I know that I don't have to address everything. I know that when people try to make me look bad or disgrace me or try to speak on my reputation or try to make me look bad, or when people get mad, or when people don't feel the same way like they used to feel about me, or when people feel like I changed, I know that God is going to speak for me. When people lie on me, I know that God is going to speak for me. I know that I owe nobody no explanation but God. I know that God is going to work it out. I know that God is going to tell my story. So I don't need to tell my story. I don't need to be the big bad wolf, because God is going to be my big bad wolf. God is going to shield me. God is going to protect me. God is going to make a way for me. And once I got in that mind frame to realize everything don't need a reaction, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm not going to feel like I got to tell you off. I'm not going to put my 2 cents in it. Because the God that I serve, the God that I walk with, the God that holds my hand, the God that wakes me up, the God that's there every day, every minute, every hour, every second, He got my back. My daddy got my back. And as long as my daddy got my back, I know that I'm covered. You got to keep that in mind. I'm covered. I don't care what you do, devil. I don't care what attacks you try to bring up against me. I'm covered because God said I'm covered. I'm covered because I'm a child of God. I'm covered because I'm a woman, a man of God. I'm covered because I walk with the Lord. You are covered. Trust God and trust your process. And when you begin to come in that egg stage of the butterfly stage, trust it. Trust it. If it takes you to isolate for a little while, if it takes you to shed yourself in your room, in your house, if it takes yourself not going nowhere for 3 days, if it take you falling on your knees, laying out, rolling in your house, do what you got to do. But have that encounter with God. Have that talk with God. Allow God to flow and move in you and through you. I tell God all the time, God, sit on me. God, breathe in me. God, whatever is in me that's not of you, remove it, God, because I don't want none of it. I decrease that you increase. Keep me with a humble mind and a humble spirit. And that's how you got to be. I had to learn over the years that if God say this or God say that, that's it. And that's what's going to be done. God's will is going to be done no matter what. I had to learn that I had this I don't care attitude. Ain't nobody finna tell me what to do. Ain't nobody gonna check me, or I'm gonna check everything. You made me feel uncomfortable. You gonna know that you made me feel uncomfortable. But God has me in a place now to where the things that used to affect me no longer affect me. The things that used to make me react out would no longer get me to react out. The attention that people want, I would not give them that attention. I would not give them that. Because I know that God is going to cover me. And you got to learn to pray for your enemies. You got to learn how to pray for people that put their mouths on you. You got to learn how to pray for people that's praying against you. You got to learn for people you got to pray for people that's praying for your downfall. And you can know, in every bit of you can know that they don't have good intentions for you. But that's okay. They don't have to know that you know. Pray. Take it to God. Give it to God. You can't put your mouth on every situation. You can't put your mouth on everything because you don't know what nobody's going through. You don't know what forced somebody to be this way. You don't know what made them do what they did. So that's why you got to give it to God, because only God knows. Don't put your mouth on every situation, and don't put your mouth on everything. Pray for it. If you're going to put your mouth on, say a prayer and send a prayer and really mean that prayer. Be sincere with that prayer. So you got to get in your mind, find the Lord, I trust you. I trust you. And just keep in mind with you guys, I am free from my past, which makes me available for my future. Remember the 4 stages of the butterfly, what the butterfly go through. Remember and keep that with you. Sometimes I got to go in this shell. I got to be shut off. I got to be closed off. I got to let God reposition me. I got to let God develop me. I got to let God allow me to grow. But I need to grow the right way. I need to grow the right way. I don't want to grow the wrong way. I don't want to take in the wrong things. I don't want to hold to the wrong things. So I got to allow God to grow me the right way. And when God does it, it has no choice but to work out. It has no choice but to fall in place because God did it. So you got to trust God with everything in you. Everybody's not going to like your walk. Everybody's not going to like the place that God pushed you in. Everybody's not going to be happy with the connections that you have. Everybody's not going to be happy with the favor that you have over your life. But people have to realize when you walk with God, that's what comes with the walk. That's what comes with the walk. And you can't be offended about, you can't feel no type of way that somebody got offended about what God did for you. Earned that. You cried for that. You shouted for that. You prayed for that. You lost sleep for that. You earned that. So you rejoice when it comes. You enjoy it when it comes. You walk into it when it comes. You can't allow people to shut your story down. You can't allow people to close your book. You can't allow people to stop you from speaking. You can't allow people to stop you from praising God. Because they feel some type of way about your walk or the way you praise God, or they feel some type of way about what's going on in your life. Because God did it. God did it and you earned it, and God blessed you with that. In this season, I'm not holding back on nothing. I don't care who's upset. I don't care who's mad. I don't care who feel on type of way. I don't care who don't like me. I don't care who feel like I'm a fake Christian. I don't care who feel like this, who feel like what. Say what you want to say. Feel how you want to feel. Because if you are still living in the past and you are still defining me as my past, then you don't know me. You no longer know me. You have not been around me as God has grown me, as God has changed me. You don't. And then if you feel like I've changed so much that you just don't want to have anything to do with me, then you got to let them people go. Because anybody that's not, that has a problem with you changing, anybody that has a problem with you growing means they want you to stay in that same place. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to change. They don't want you to be delivered. They don't want you to be healed. And you got to run from them people. You got to get away from those kind of people, because they'll have you stuck in a position. They'll have you stuck in a place to where you're just stuck. You don't know what's going on. You don't understand what's going on. You don't know why you're going through what you're going through. You don't know why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. You don't know why. But you got to trust God in the midst of that process. You got to trust God in the midst of you going through. Tell God yes. Tell God I still say yes in the midst of my storm. God, I still say yes in the midst of the process. God, I still say yes in the midst of my tears. Lord, because I know that I'm about to walk through this thing. I know that I'm about to come out of this thing. That's why I trust you, Lord, because I know that you are bringing me out. So I just want you guys to be encouraged on the day. Remember the 4 stages of the butterfly. Go research it. Go take your own notes. Go and do your research on it. And remember, God has delivered you from your past. He's no longer holding you accountable for your past. When you vow to change, when you vow to serve him, when you vow to worship him and walk with him, God forgave you. When you said, Lord, will you forgive me? Lord, I'm sorry. God forgave you. You are the only one still holding on to it. You're the only one still leaning around it. Let it go because God has let it go. Trust God and trust your process. Never give up on your process. Sometimes you got to go through the process. The process is sometimes it's not good to try to take the easy way out. It's not good to try to find a shortcut. Sometimes you got to face that thing right on. You got to face that thing. You got to go through that thing. You got to feel that thing and you got to experience that thing. Sometimes the quick way is not always the best way out. So you got to trust that when the process is long, when the process is draining, when the process is hurtful, it's for a reason. Don't run from it, face it. Because if you run from it, it's going to come back around. You're going to have to face it again. So eventually one day you done ran from it so much till you have no choice but to face that thing. Go ahead and face it. Face it and get through it. Because God is going to get you through it. God is going to walk you through that thing untouched. Before you know it, you'll look back and you have been and walked out of that situation. You have been and walked out of that problem. You have been and walked away from that person. You have been and gained the strength that you need. My pastor preached a sermon one day saying that we got to be removed from tables that we are seated at. You got to remove yourself from tables that you are seated at, that you no longer need to be seated at. Get away from them tables because it's time for you to be removed. God's trying to put you at another table. God's trying to put you at a higher table. So it's time to remove yourself from that current table because that current table is not allowing you to grow anymore. It's not allowing you to hear from God anymore. It's not allowing your walk to go like it's supposed to go. It's not allowing you to enjoy your peace. It's disturbing your peace now. Get up away from that table and move on to the next table. God doesn't have us sitting in the same place forever. You got to move about. You got to flow. You got to begin to fly. How that butterfly begins to fly. That butterfly flies where it wants to go. That butterfly begins to soar. His wings begin to open and you see something beautiful. And that's what God is trying to create in us and show us that there's a beautiful thing on the inside of all of us. But we got to tap into that beautiful thing. We got to trust God to get to that beautiful thing, to get to that beautiful moment, that comfortable moment. You got to trust God so that you are able to get there. And if you don't trust God or your process, you're just going to prolong your time of getting there. It's not easy. And I'm not going to say that it's easy. It's not easy. It gets harder and it gets harder and it gets harder. The stronger your walk gets, the stronger your faith gets. The more tests come, the more trials come, the harder the devil tries to come. And the devil's in a season to where he's attacking personally. He's attacking homes. He's attacking marriage. He's attacking people's children. He's attacking people's business. He's attacking people on their jobs. He's attacking personally. But he's doing his job. You have to realize that is his job. So we got to be on our job and we got to trust God. We got to trust and believe in God so that God can do his job. We got to praise God. We got to speak those things into the atmosphere. We got to confess those things so that God may help us with those things. God sees it. He knows. But sometimes God is just waiting for us to come to him and have that talk. Have that uncomfortable talk. Have that uncomfortable sit. Go. Just lay there and rest in God. Sometimes I'll just lay there and I'll just rest in God. Sometimes I can't even, I'm praying in my mind. I'm praying in my spirit because I'm laying there. I'm resting in God. And that's what we have to do sometimes. We got to truly rest in God. And when we begin to truly rest in God, we will see the benefits of this Holy Spirit. We will see the benefits of his presence. All the material things, God is not God. You will see those things come. You can't be impressed by material things. You can't be impressed by money. You can't be impressed by clothes and shoes. You can't be. You got to be impressed by God, and you got to walk with God. And when you begin to do that, the other things will follow. They will come. God not going to leave you out here struggling and hanging if you trust in him and you walking with him. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from what I've been through. I'm speaking for what I've dealt with. Can't nobody tell me that God is not real. Can't nobody make my faith waver. Can't nobody, because I know that some stuff that happened in my life, some stuff that I've been bought out of, I know that it was nobody but God. I know that nobody else could have done it but God. I know that God was covering me. I know that God was walking with me. So keep in your mind, encourage somebody, encourage your brother, encourage your sister. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you are beautiful. Tell them that you are handsome. Tell them that I'm here for you. Tell them that I'm praying for you and really mean it. Tell them that I got your back. Tell them I'm going to go before the throne with you. Tell them that. And when you say that you have a friend, and when you say that you hold somebody close, truly mean them. That's not just saying that, oh, this and this, I'm going to show this and this, I'm going to do this. It's not just that. It's also being able to cry with them. It's also being able to go before the throne with them. It's also being able to lay there with them when no words can be said. To lay there in silence with them. And God will send you those type of relationships and those type of friendships. God will send it to you. You got to trust God. And when you go before God, you got to be specific and tell God. Tell God what you desire. He already knows, but you tell him what you desire. Tell him what you want and be specific all the way down to the details. All the way down to the color. All the way down to this. If you're asking God for a husband, be in detail. All the way down to how you want him to dress. I'm telling you, be specific. And I'm telling you because I did this. I've done this. My marriage has not always been the best. My marriage has not always been what it is now. But I went to God and I was specific with God and I told God what I wanted. I said, God, if this is for me, God, I need you to work it out because God, I'm about to walk away. God, I'm about to step away. God, I'm not feeling this no more. And when I began to go before God and I began to tell God, also reveal me, reveal myself to me. God, show me what I'm not doing right. God, show me what I need to do. Show me my ways. Show me myself. Deliver me from what's not of you that's in me. And when I began to pray that prayer and I began to talk to God and I began to tell God what I wanted in a husband, what I wanted in a man, I began to tell God what I wanted. But I also had to know that, God, if it's not for me, then you send the man that's for me. God, if he's not for me, you send the man that I need to be with. You make me be the wife that I need to be. You make me be who I need to be because maybe it's something on my end that I'm not doing right. And when I began to pray that way, God began to send a word. God began to send a message. God began to change that situation overnight, literally overnight. That's why I tell people, hold on. You looking for a husband, you looking for a wife, hold on. Pray and trust God. Because I'm going to tell you, that very person that you can be with, you never know how God may change them. You never know how God may change their situation, their heart, or their mind. But sometimes we got to change first. Sometimes we got to work on ourselves because it starts with us. Because God can't send us where he want to send us and we still bleeding. Because therefore we're going to bleed off on that thing and that thing is going to be infected. And once that thing begin to come infected, we've infected somebody else's spirit. We've infected somebody else's mind. We've infected and bled all over this person when God was trying to shield us from that. So you got to begin to know that if God said no right now, God said no. Ask God, God, am I bleeding? God, what am I doing wrong? Because